Díobh gach duine fáilte as go dtí chlór eile anseo an Cluiche. Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode on Cluiche with me, Séamus Brady, your host. I'm joined by Matthew Hurley, the Gaelic Statsman. We are fresh off the All-Ireland quarter-final weekend. 4 football quarter-finals. We also had the Camogie action as well and a thrilling All-Ireland minor hurling final. Matthew, again, the number of games getting less and less and less, but the significance of the games is ramping up week after week. And the All-Ireland quarter-final weekend has, well, since it's been introduced in the GAA, has always been a weekend where the cream rises to the top. And we saw one of the shocks of the ages in terms of like Dublin are out. Nobody expected Dublin to be knocked out pretty much by anybody, maybe except Kerry. And Galway went in, put in an extraordinary performance and got the win. It's a bumper weekend for the GAA.
It is, and thanks for having me on again, Séamus. Yeah, I suppose the quarterfinals, they usually rise to the top, I suppose, but there has been tweets over the past few hours saying that games should have been moved to neutral grounds rather than Croke Park. Maybe the traditionalists wouldn't like that, but when you look at just the stone cold facts of it, 49,000, I think yesterday, when you expected it to be a full house with Dubs there, Armagh there, like you Roscommon, who are a highly supported county as well, so you would have expected a sellout then. Today, not so much. Like, I don't think Kerry fans travel. Louth have a very small fan base, so it was expected that'll be 47,000. But then again, I thought they were very good games in general. I thought maybe 50% of them. Galway and Dublin was a very good game. Galway hung in there, and they got Dublin on the hop, and that was the main thing. I actually watched it back because I was at a club game this morning, but I watched Donegal Louth back. Just knowing the player, I actually enjoyed that game. Very good kicking, in fairness. Louth really put it up to Donegal, and Donegal's kicking today was absolutely superb, and definitely want to watch this weekend. And definitely we at the back quarterfinals as well. Armagh Roscommon only scored 1 point in half an hour. Again, that's not good enough in a quarterfinal. And Kerry and Derry, I'll be honest, Séamus, nearly the first half nearly sent me to sleep. I'll being honest now. It was just it just wasn't stylish. A good style for me. And what I will say as well, I was speaking to people that were watching the game on the TV with me as well, and I said, if you take away the scoreboard, you wouldn't have realised Derry were 3-4 points down going into the last few minutes. That's what I was thinking. Look at that. There was just no urgency in Derry's play in the last few minutes. And obviously it was a great win over Mayo last weekend, but just maybe loft it into the square, do something just to trouble this Kerry team. But Derry didn't do it. The last Kerry through went. And look, it was a 50-50 weekend in the quarterfinals. The Camogie, very entertaining results. Obviously, Cork and Tipperary go through to the semi-finals and quarterfinals next week. Much looking forward to them, watching those next weekend. And obviously, it's the brilliant minor hurling final as well. And the sheer, I would say, brilliance for the Tipperary miners just to drag it out of the bag, being down to 13 men, but they still managed to get over the line, and it definitely sheds a good light for Tipperary hurling in the future. So a lot of games, well, not a lot of games, but very important games to look into, and looking forward to this.
Yeah, no, certainly. And like, especially for Tipperary, you're right, a county that needed a lift hurling wise now. Like, you're looking at what the Tipperary Camogie team is doing, straight into the semi-finals, league champions, and beating Kilkenny this week in the Camogie, and then their minor hurlers winning with 13 men on the pitch against Kilkenny is an extraordinary achievement. We have a couple of comments in here, guys. Anybody watching, keep the comments coming. Have your say in our live chat in the discussion. Let us know your opinions. So Jack here says, I know people will say poor match, and it was, but a win is a win for Kerry. They could have shown more intensity, but Derry's setup was very defensive. Kerry can improve and playing more attacking football. Thoughts on that, Matthew?
A win is a win. Yeah, I suppose it is. And Kerry wanted to get over the line this one as well. But the bottom line is, from a Kerry point of view, and I don't think Kerry fans or Kerry players would give a jot of what we'll say, but they have not performed their peak levels in the championship yet. And we're going to the semi-finals.
Know that like they're already here at semi-final stage, and they haven't had to get out of second gear.
That's true. That is true. At the same time, and maybe the sides that come into this will be tired as well, because Armagh, I know, didn't perform well this weekend, but have done well in the past few weeks. Donegal performed absolutely brilliantly today, and they are at such a high level, other than the Cork game, which was an absolute blip for them. And Galway, you don't know with their injury situation how serious is the Shane Walsh injury, obviously coming off the pitch against Dublin as well. So maybe it is a positive for Kerry, but it's almost like, have they got an easy All-Ireland? looking as to this stage, because you look at the group stage they got. Meath, Monaghan, Louth didn't put much of a test up to them. In Munster, the biggest test they got was against Cork, and we seen how bad Cork were in the later on the summer after that. And Derry, there was just no urgency from Derry today, which was very, very disappointing from them. So you were just hoping from a neutral point of view that Armagh put it up to Kerry in the semi-final. Just give them a bit of a test in this semi-final, give them a bit of a shake-up. But if they don't, it's almost like a lot of punters would go on and say that Kerry may have gotten easy All-Ireland if they do go on to win the All-Ireland from here.
Yeah, well, like the next two games would be the ones that tell us all we need to know about that. But we've commented here from Patrick Cal. He says, I think Armagh have more than enough firepower to give Kerry a very strong test. I agree. I think Armagh will give them the biggest test that they've experienced this season. And Jack here says, Donegal didn't look like losing. Galway did well and were brave on Saturday. Absolutely. And like, you see, most of the things with Dublin as well is like, it's all in the head a lot of the time. Like a lot of teams come up and they've already pretty much accepted that they're going to lose to Dublin. And that is not the way to go about it at all. Now, just given the week that's in it, I was away during the week. I was away from Tuesday and I got back on Friday. And while I was gone, the devastating news of Mícheál Muircheartaigh's passing broke. And I just wanted to have a little chat with you, man, just about what a legend this guy was and just have a little tribute, because genuinely, like everybody just has so much respect for this guy. And me personally, listening to him commentate, listening to how he described the game is one of the reasons why I fell in love with the sport. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to get into covering the sport. It's one of the reasons why I started on Cluiche. And genuinely, like, this guy was just an absolute legend. And it says something that in a sport that everybody, you know, has their opinions on everything, every nook and cranny, yet everybody is in complete agreement about Mícheál Muircheartaigh. This guy was an absolute icon of our sport, and yeah, a national treasure. And I just wanted to say, Mícheál, like, rest in peace. Genuinely seemed like a real gentleman. I never got the honour to meet him, but what an impact he's had in the sport and what a legacy he has.
Exactly so, and what a man to commentate on games for RT, and what a man with RT. Like, RT have lost three brilliant broadcasters and presenters across like all genres, like Charlie Bird, Tommy Gorman, now Mícheál Muircheartaigh as well. Like you wouldn't get the likes of those people again. And I suppose the quotes have been rolling around for this week as well. Like the quote. A few quotes that I remember from the week in tributes to Mícheál were the rabbit chasing the fox. Yeah. You wouldn't see that in the GA pitch. That was a brilliant quote. Teddy McCarthy to Mick McCarthy, no relation. Mick McCarthy back to Teddy McCarthy, still no relation. Brilliant quote again. Sean O'Halpine, his mother from Fiji, his father from Fermanagh. And neither of them are hurling stronghold. Like, the guy just came up with these stories, and there was a story he came up with when Brian Dewar was down injured for Tyrone. Like, just the stories that roll along the tongue for Mícheál. And I think I listened to Sports Joe as well, and Dan Casey was mentioning Mícheál in the GA PS4 game. Say, oh, let's go for the orange peel and the banana at halftime, and it's just, you know, it's
the banana and cup of tea, wasn't it? Banana and
cup of tea, yeah. And
it's a long gaming kick. Like, I remember just hearing quotes like that in my head. Another long kick. Like, he had this in the head. I used to play that game. It was on the PS2. And I remember it upgraded to PS3. Worst decision of my life because I lost those games. But genuinely, the guy was just an icon. And I remember growing up, and I remember, no offense to anybody who was the TV commentators, but I remember like deliberately muting the TV and popping the radio on just so we could listen to Mícheál commentating on the game. Even though it would be 2 seconds faster than the TV, we still wanted to hear Mícheál describing the game for us. And that's the type of guy that he was. That's the type of legacy that he has, and it will be unrivaled and it will be untouched in terms of GAA history. And he's right up there with Mícheál O'Hare as the best two that we've ever had commentating on our games. And I don't think anybody will ever be able to join them up there. They're just the legacy that they have. Because you have to remember as well, the two of them built, but their voices are the soundtrack of the most epic and iconic moments in our sports history. And the fact that they could just think up of those lines so quickly and the vocabulary that this guy was able to use and the way he could articulate what he was seeing in front of him. And I just remember one of the best bits of quotes that he gave was, funnily enough, it was in the Jeff and Cammy thing, the AIB. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Stelling asked him, what would you have any advice? And he said, for those who are not here, paint as good a picture as you can, aided by the atmosphere and the history. And I'm like, that is Mícheál Muircheartaigh to a T. And you felt like you were really part of it when he was commentating. So I just want to say, absolute legend. Rest in peace.
Yeah, exactly. So even that documentary about Jeff and Cammy, the way he kind of taught them about the sport as well. And after that quote that you just said, Séamus, he asked what Jeff Stilling actually had. Did you have a good sleep and did you have a good breakfast as well? Like the guy.
That's it. The guy was great crack as well. Like by all accounts, he was great crack. You could sit down, you could have a laugh with Mícheál. He's loved. That's the other thing as well, is that you'll never meet anybody who didn't like him, or who everybody had good interactions with Mícheál, and just legend. Yeah,
and I suppose I remember as well, and it's so coincidental now, his last ever All-Ireland final he commentated on was Cork against Donegal in the football, and Cork was a brilliant win for them, obviously, but that final was remembered because of him. Because he commentated at that last day, and he was on the Sunday game that evening. Obviously, Christy Cooley, the former president. I have a program of that. I took a picture of it and put up a post on my Instagram as well, of a page where Christy Cooley pays tribute to Mícheál back in 2010. So we knew, like, even 14 years ago, the guy's an absolute legend. And he's just the GA, and what it encapsulates in many ways, and he's just an incredible. And what I will say, credit has to go to GA Go. I watched their coverage before the Armagh Roscommon game. The first 2 minutes of the bulletin on GA Go, they paid tribute to Mícheál Muircheartaigh, and Mike Finnerty actually pointed towards the commentary chair, and he was saying that this is the chair where Mícheál did his stuff. And, it was absolutely brilliant in that way, and fair play to GA Go for that. And obviously, condolences to the Muircheartaigh family, and rest in peace, Mícheál, or yesterday, a river on and Dealish, and you will be an absolute legend in Gaelic Games folklore.
Damn right. Never forgotten. Anyway, we're in with the games, and I'm sure the great man would have been very, very excited watching Dublin go out of the championship. Dublin 16 points, Galway 17 points in Croke Park. This game is Galway's first championship victory over Dublin in 90 years. Like when we're trying to put in just how big this win is for Galway, this win is so big for Galway. It's the first win over Dublin in championship football in 90 years. It's Stephen Cluxton's first defeat in championship football since 2014. And then on top of that, Galway are into the All-Ireland semi-finals. And let's call a spade here. They are walking wounded. Sean Kelly went off injured. Shane Walsh looked like his hamstring was literally being strapped up with just plasters, keeping it together at various stages. You've got Coleman, we don't know how fit he is. Mulkerrin was back. Keane Darcy was back. But obviously they've had their injury struggles as well. Yet they put in a brilliant performance. And the thing that I noticed was they just never went away. They always just hung in there, no matter how many times Dublin were on top, on the front foot. Dublin would go back ahead, Galway would equalise. Dublin would go 2 points ahead, Galway would pull it back to 1. They never, ever went away. And when the final push was needed, it was Galway who came up with the answers. And it's an extraordinary victory, and it shook up the championship.
It definitely did. And what I was noticing at half time as well, there was a group chat I was in, and someone was saying that my stats are brilliant and stuff like that. They're on point. And what I was saying to them as well, what I noticed from the stats from half time, Shane Walsh had 5 points, 100% shot accuracy, 5 points out of 7. And I was seeing him hobbling at the end of the first half, and I was thinking,
brilliant
if Shane Walsh, unreal. Like the guy was absolutely on fire in the first half and the second half, to be fair to him as well.
Yeah, like it wasn't like he was tapping it over from the 21. Like these were audacious attempts. Yeah.
Absolutely. And what was crucial actually with what I was going to say about the end of the half is if Shane Walsh went off injured, I was thinking at that time Galway are done. And I thought Dublin would coast him after that, but he stayed on the pitch. He helped his teammates, and actually he scored some worthy of points, as I mentioned. I think he scored 8 points overall, or 7 points out of 8 shots, which was absolutely incredible in its own right. But a crucial moment, actually, he actually hobbled and he gave the ball. I can't remember. I think it was Cian Darcy. He gave the ball to when he was hobbling, and Cian Darcy put it over the bar. If Shane Walsh would have took that on himself and had a selfish mindset, we would have been talking about a different story here. So, but for half the mindset that he had, saying, "I'm not right here, lads. I'll pass it back to the man behind me." Cian Darcy puts the ball over the bar, and Galway complete the comeback. And some crucial scores as well. Johnny McGrath score, I think, or not Johnny McGrath, Dylan McHugh, Johnny Heaney got a crucial score as well. Tom O'Cullan, after coming onto the pitch, we thought Shane Walsh would be a loss. He comes onto the pitch, gets a score. Unreal score from his point of view as well. And Paul Conroy, like, the man has been through hell and back for Galway. And his performance.
2 broken legs. Like,
and
playing since 2008, and he's still gone.
He is. He's been through the barn ages, hasn't he? Like in 2009, up until I think 2013 or 2012, 2013, Galway didn't win a knockout round game in the All-Ireland series. He's been through the barns days, Paul Conroy, and for him to get those days, 3 Connacht titles in a row, and now this, it's an absolutely incredible achievement from him to do that. Conor Gleeson again had a very good performance at shutting up the doubters in this game as well. I thought a lot of Galway players played to their full potential as well. Damien Comer didn't offer much of the scoring standpoint, but did very well at winning the ball as well in this game. And I suppose, like, even Matthew Hurley getting that point to give Galway the lead initially, but Dublin still holding the back. And I think Michael Murphy, I think it was one of the pundits anyway, and GAO mentioned that, or I think it was actually Grania McIlwain, the presenter, actually, which was a very good point. Dublin didn't lose the game. Galway won it. And you have to give credit for Galway for that. Like, you look at Dublin's shot accuracy, it was 64%, which isn't bad. It isn't bad. Dublin didn't play bad last night. They weren't, off it or anything like that. It was just Galway just hung in there in the times that were needed in the game, and they got over the line. And fair play to them. And it wasn't a fluke or anything. Galway deserved it. They absolutely deserved getting over the line last night. And it was an incredible win. And obviously, the biggest stat from last night, the 2 big stats actually. Louth spent longer in the championship than Dublin, which I never thought you could see in the championship ever in my lifetime. And number 2, Dublin lost their first quarter-final, or didn't reach the semi-final for the first time since 2009. To be fair, that is some achievement from Dublin. I have to take my hat off to that. But Galway ended that record, and what a win for them. And they absolutely deserved it, Séamus.
Yeah, no, they did. And like, absolutely, like, your point about Grania saying that Galway won the game rather than Dublin losing is correct, because a lot of teams come up to Dublin and it's just like, we'll take our medicine here, we'll take a 5-point beating and hit the road. Galway came up and really believed that when it was going down the home stretch, they could find a way to win. And we've a couple of comments in here. Gaelic Guy 24 says, listening to the commentary, and Galway ones were going wild. And honestly, I love to hear it. Just need Kerry out, and Sam is going somewhere very different. And this is what me and you were saying off air. Obviously, I'm from Dublin. Like, I'm a Dublin fan. But there was a part of me that was saying it's probably good for the game. Like, in terms of, like, the more champions that we have in our sport, the more that the cup changes every year, and we don't have Dublin winning 6 in a row, Cork winning 11 in 12 years, Limerick winning 5 in a row if they do this year. Like, the more champions we see on the board, the more you can inspire dreams in players to go and win an All-Ireland, and the more good teams are going to come up. Like, that's what we're looking at. And in football, if Kerry are to be beaten and you have one of Galway, Donegal or Armagh winning the All-Ireland, that's a very different year, and it would be remembered for years to come. You look at it, you look at like Donegal 92, Derry 93, Donegal 2012. They're still talked about today because they're rare All-Ireland successes. Kerry's in 2022, Dublin's last year already isn't really being talked about. Dublin's in 2020, people forget that even happened. Like, the more champions that we can get on the board, and the more that the cup can change hands more or less every year, the more entertaining a spectacle we are in for. Now, we've got the comments keep coming in. Love to see it. Rufus here says, Armagh were poor again and still won. They are not easy to beat. and will relish a go at Kerry, especially with everyone writing them off yet again. I absolutely agree. Armagh can be dangerous for Kerry. And then Jay Gregan here, guest on the show many times. Good friend Jay says, biggest mistake from Desi was starting McCaffrey and Mannion. Mentally taking them off when the game was in the balance as opposed to bringing them on gave Galway energy. Matthew, your thoughts on that? It's a good point by Jay.
Yeah, it is an excellent point, to be fair. And I suppose it was mentioned on GAGO as well. They actually mentioned it at the very start of the game. I think it was the pundits, who was down there, Michael Murphy, Cillian O'Connor and Cian O'Sullivan, actually mentioned it. There's starting Paul Mannion, all the big hitters from the very start was a mistake. Because you looked at the Dublin bench then, you had Larkin O'Dell, yes, good player, but not up to the standard of getting over the line and all that. Ross McGarry, the same, decent player, but not up to the standard of winning All-Irelands on a frequent basis as well, and doesn't have the experience. You had other players on the bench, Pat O'Cuffig Byrne, yes, a brilliant player again. You had brilliant players on that Dublin bench, but none of them that had the experience.
Yeah, match winners. Mannion's exactly. A match winner, McCaffrey's a match winner, and to not have them as options to come in off the bench, because though they have made differences when they've been brought in plenty of games that they've been brought in, and that threat to come off the bench wasn't there. Galway knew what the threats were. And when I went down the home stretch, I was like, we're really missing Mannion off the bench here just to kick a couple of points to calm us down. We really felt that, I thought. And what's ironic as well is I think it's actually a very similar loss to the Mayo one 3 years ago. I think it's very similar, as in we dominated the first half but didn't really make it count on the scoreboard, and Galway were able to stay in the game. And Galway then got the run on us, pulled us back in very, very quickly as well, pulled us back in. And then actually, a funny part, Galway probably should have beaten us by more, if we're calling a spade a spade. Like, the amount of chances that Galway missed going down the home stretch. Conroy missed a couple, Comer missed a couple. And I remember thinking when I was watching them kick them away, that I was thinking when McGarry put Dublin back in front, I remember thinking, Dublin are going to kick on and win this now. We'll all be sitting here talking about Galway kicking the game away. So fair play to them for digging the heels in and getting over the line. But for Desi, it's kind of a situation of the last two of the last three times, that Dublin have been knocked out of the championship, it's been because we didn't make it count as much when we had the upper hand.
Yeah, I suppose, and you could go back even to the Kerry game in the semi-final in 2022 as well, when Cormac Costello scored that goal. Dublin had the upper hand that day, and they just let Kerry win the game more or less with that last bit of point from Sean O'Shea. And yeah, it was the same old story again with Desi Farrell's Dublin. And I wouldn't really compare it to the Mayo game, to be fair, because the first half in that game, Dublin should have won it. Simple as 10 points to 3. Dublin should close out that game, and maybe in some aspects Mayo were lucky. In this game, it was 11 points to 7 at half time. And Galway, and I said to someone I was watching the game with last night, that Galway are hanging on in this game. Dublin may look comfortable, but 4 points, this is a good thing for Galway. And if they keep Shane Walsh on the pitch, anything can happen. And it did. That's the thing with Galway, I suppose. And they got a high scoring rate. They kicked their shots well. They did everything possible to stay in the game against Dublin. They didn't play defensive football. They went for it, and they got the results in the end. And definitely your point about teams sitting back against Dublin. I hope this teaches a lesson to every other side that sits back against Dublin and expects, okay, we'll sit back, annoy Dublin, and expect a different outcome in this game. Look at what Galway have done in this one. 11 points to 7 at half time, 65% shot accuracy. If you get your shots on point and you play attacking football, if you kick your shots as well at a fast pace, Kevin Kennedy mentioned this as well, and I mentioned it last week briefly after the Cork and Louth game as well. Hanging onto the ball for a long period of time doesn't result in an easier shot. It actually reduces the chances of converting the shot over the bar. What Galway did last night in so many instances is when they turned over the ball inside their own 45, they broke at pace. They gave the ball to the shooters, whether it be Walsh, whether it be Culhan when he came on, whether it be Paul Conroy, whether it be Dylan McHugh or somebody like that, got him in the pockets, and then they put him over the bar after that. And that's what Galway did last night to a T, and you have to give it to them in that game as well. And I hope it does teach a lot of teams a valuable lesson in how to beat a Dublin or a Kerry, and not what Derry did today against Kerry, what Galway did last night. This is what you have to do to break down the bigger opposition.
Yeah, but they were brave, weren't they? Like, they went for it. And when it went down the home stretch, like, the shots that they were taking on, Killian McDaid, Cian Darcy, they were taking on brave shots and nailing them. And they did hit some wides, but it was like, all right, we'll get the next one. And they were winning kickouts and they were turning Dublin over. And then on top of that, like, their defending was brilliant. Like, they were throwing themselves on Dublin's boot every time Dublin were about to take a shot. And yeah, like, it's crazy to think now that Dublin are out of the championship, like, before the semi-finals. I definitely would not have expected that. And with all Galway's injuries, to still find the result, huge credit to them. Now, you're commenting here from Gaelic Guy here. I'll throw this next question to you, Matthew. Is it the end of an era for Dublin, as Desi Farrell was saying? Now, obviously, like, by the end of an era, like, he's hinting at potential retirements from the camp, and immediately you're looking at your Stephen Cluxtons, your Mick Fitzsimons, your James McCarthy's. Those are the invincibles in a way, like that. I know that they've just been beaten, but in terms of, like, they're the immortals, sorry is the best word, like 9 All-Ireland medals in football. On the men's side, no men has ever done that apart from them. But in terms of what they've achieved, their legacy is unquestioned. Should they come back and try have another crack for 10, or do you think that this would be the end?
Well, to be honest with you, Séamus, it'll be straight up. I think Cluxton and Fitzsimons particularly should have retired last year at the end of the Kerry game.
I remember thinking so too, but I was more scared of Kerry last year. I remember thinking that Kerry could have gone up a level. And we couldn't. It felt like, being in the stadium, it felt like, I don't know, it felt like we were using every bit of strength we had left. Do you know what I mean? It felt like we were really running low on fuel and steam. And I think if that game had gone on for another 10 minutes, I would have fancied Kerry to win it.
Yeah, that was even more kind of evidence there that Cluxton had to go at the end of last year, end on a high. Fitzsimons the same. James McCarthy maybe the same. Maybe not for McCaffrey, because McCaffrey is still, by my math, 30 years of age. He's still young enough, let's be honest, and he still has another few years left in him. But yeah, it is the end of an era for these Dublin players, and they have to bring through the new guard now. Like, in fairness, Colin Baskell has done that over the last few seasons, and he was the one player last night for the bench that you would say could have made a difference coming off the bench. Like Dean Rock going last year as well. You had other players in the past few seasons leaving the panel, filling McMahon, obviously, Mountain Dar McCauley, slowly but surely leaving the panel. And I expect Cluxton to go. I'd expect Fitzsimons probably to go as well. McCarthy didn't play as much this season as he probably would have liked, so I would say he's gone as well. So that's 3 of the backbone, really, from a Dublin point of view. I don't think it's necessarily pushing a panic stations button, to be honest with you, because when David O'Hanlon has come in for Dublin in goal, he's actually done really well. So him coming into goal, I don't think is a massive downgrade for Dublin. Mick Fitzsimons there as well, who comes in at full back. Maybe Theo Clancy, I suppose, for Kilmacud Crokes. He got a bit of experience this year, maybe not as much as he's like, but maybe they need to bring him in more next season as well. You've other players like Darren Newcombe, you've Greg McEnany. Like, you need to bring in these players as well. And let's not forget, Lee Gannon actually was injured after the Derry game in the league. If he was there last night, could have been
Jack
a different
probably
story.
Wouldn't have started, and, like, you know, and then Jack would have been coming in off the bench. Yeah, like, the reality is, it feels like it could potentially be a big change here. Jay says, so if it's the end of an era, any hope of Con, Lee Gannon and Kilkenny switching codes, obviously jumping to the hurling? I don't think so. I think they'll have their eye on picking up more All-Ireland football championships.
And more Leinster titles.
More Leinster titles as well. But it's interesting when you look at it, and, like, you look at Kildare, you look at Meath, you look at Louth, they're like, Dublin will decline when the lads step away. They're a generational team, probably the best team we've ever seen. When those lads step away, it's going to be impossible to replace them to the level that they were at over the last 10 years. So it's something to keep an eye on for those years, like, ahead, that Dublin could be caught. I'm not saying they will be, but we could be, and we're more vulnerable to it than we've been before. That was wishful thinking, Jason. And the next thing I'm going to ask you.
Yeah. Let's call a spade though in the Leinster Championship. I think the only team to challenge Dublin, if any, next year is Louth.
Yeah,
because Kildare are a mess. Meath I don't think they took it as seriously as many people hoped this season as well. That's the thing, yeah. And Louth beat Cork this year. They believed they could go into Croke Park and beat Dublin and beat Donegal today, to be fair to them. Like, it was just a shooting and they kind of let Louth down today. We'll get onto that more later. But it will be interesting to see Louth, if they keep that team together, can they have a serious crack off Dublin next year, given the way they played this season?
Absolutely. It'd be definitely one to keep an eye on. And just last one before we move on, the question I just want to throw to you is, it was always going to be a tight one. Like, I mean, like Dan said it to me on the GA hour, and I was not ruling out Galway. I said that, push me now on it, and I'll say Dublin by 4. But I said it's definitely not going to be Dublin versus the handicap like that teams do for the Leinster Championship. I said it's going to be a very difficult game. But I still didn't expect Galway to win it. Where did Galway win this game? As Grania said, if you were to kind of map it out, where did Galway win this game?
I think they won it in the third quarter, to be honest with you, because what I was saying to somebody I was watching the game with as well, Dublin usually excel in the third quarter, and it was kind of known as the bomb squad, the dangerous third quarter for the opposition, where Dublin would run amok on any opposition. I remember distinctly 2019 against Mayo. Mayo looked in serious control at halftime, I would say. I was at that game in Croke Park, and Dublin just hit 3 goals just like that in the third quarter. It was just like, this team is absolutely unbelievable. But Galway held on in there in that third quarter. And I'll bring up the stats of the third quarter there. When you look at up until the end of the third quarter, Dublin were on 13, Galway were on 11. At the start of the third quarter, Galway were on 7, Dublin were on 11. So Galway beat Dublin by 4 points to 2 in the third quarter. That was the winning of the game, in my opinion. And then in the last few minutes,
not only did they outscore, but that's one of Dublin's biggest ace cards, is that they make you fold in the third quarter. So that going into the final quarter, it was there for either team to go and win it, and then Galway kick on and get over the line.
And even in the last few minutes as well, when you look at the fourth quarter, Dublin were leading going to the fourth quarter by 13 points to 11. Galway won the fourth quarter. Dublin had 3 points. Galway had 6 points to 4 as well. And in addition, and that was the last few minutes when bodies were tired, when Shane Walsh was going off injured, when Damien Comer was kind of feeling a niggle, Sean Kelly went off injured as well. Paul Conroy is in his 30s, let's be honest here. You talk Culhan coming onto the pitch, a young but raw player. Like, for Galway to produce that performance in the fourth quarter, never mind the third quarter, was absolutely incredible as well. To outscore Dublin in both of them quarters in the second half was just brilliant, in fairness. And to keep Walsh as long as they did as well. And then Walsh went over to Joy saying, yeah, look, my race is run here, I have to go off. And that was a selfish thing as well, because many other players in that sort of situation against a great side like Dublin would say to themselves and the manager, keep me on here, because I believe I'm the only man to find a way past this Dublin team. But Walsh was selfless. He took one for the team and said, look, I'm done here. I'm done. I have to go off here. He brought to power choice, brought on Tom Culhan. He ends up getting a score, one of the scores to go on and win the game for Galway in that instance. And yeah, there was the crucial moments for Galway, mostly in the second half. And the first half, to be fair, Séamus, because Dublin were controlled in the first half. But for Galway to go into the dressing room only 4 points down at half time was absolutely crucial. And I will say this from a Galway point of view, they really deserved to win last night, and they got the crucial moments spot on as well.
They certainly did. Rufus here says, I think Dublin looked very tired in the second half and didn't chase Galway and turn them over. Rumours on the Sunday game said a lot of them were sick with a virus, and they definitely had something. I haven't actually been keeping up too much with that. I just think Galway were the better side. I think Galway definitely worked harder, turned us over, were braver in the shots that they were taking on. Like, even towards the end, like, there were chances for Dublin to shoot that we didn't take. And then when it got to Con, it was almost like he was frustrated and he was just like, I'm taking this on. Because Kieran Kilkenny probably should have took the shot on. He had enough time to wind up and have a kick at that. it's like overcomplicating it, trying to find the percentage zone shot. It's like, oh, just take the shot, will you? For God's sake, like, because then you work at the con and he has 3 Galway lads diving on his boot. You're not going to get an easy shot in those moments. So if you get a bit of space, but it's not from a percentage zone, take the shot, because in the last couple of minutes, you don't know what's going to happen, and mistakes can be made. But look, Kieran is an absolute legend of Dublin GAA, and like, I would have picked him to be in that situation with the ball to orchestrate something. If Con had nailed it, I certainly wouldn't be talking about that. So, yeah, interesting. And Galway fully deserving of the win and into the All-Ireland semi-final. Now, this game was also one that everybody was keeping an eye on over the weekend, and it wasn't exactly as thrilling. Kerry, 15 points. Derry, 10 points in Croke Park. Matthew, have you woken up from this game yet?
Well, to be fair, I watched the Slovakia game afterwards and rewatched Louth and Donegal. So to be fair, I did, yeah. But it needed 2 games. Yeah, I'm wide awake now after it. But see, geez, Séamus, like, it's just it encapsulates the things wrong with Gaelic football, passing over and sideways. Like, my opinions on Cork this season, passing the ball backwards, sideways, and it seems like it's kind of a virus around Gaelic football, that you have to do phases by passing the ball backwards and kicking it sideways, and it's just awful to watch. And
I was saying, we shouldn't have a sport, man. We shouldn't have a sport where someone can literally stop dead in the middle of the pitch and just walk. That shouldn't be. Like, do you know what I mean? I was like, genuinely, like, a lot of people will say, "Oh, you're an idiot for suggesting a shot clock," but I'm like, I genuinely think it should be explored by the FRC, by the Football Review Committee, like a 2-minute shot clock. Because in my opinion, if you hold on to the ball for more than 2 minutes and do nothing with it, you deserve to lose the ball.
Yeah.
You deserve to lose the ball. And yeah, no, like, Gaelic guy here says snooze fest. And like, this is the thing, is like, that's Kerry and Derry, 2 teams that, like, at the start of the year, when you were watching Derry go and win the league, and then Kerry were, in the All-Ireland final last year and champions 2022, if you said that they were going to play each other in the quarterfinal, you would have expected it to be a banger, especially given that last year's one was also a classic, like, such an amazing match. One of the maddest things, though, that I'm watching is, and nobody really watched this, everybody was talking about Derry's performances and everything, but like, they've really fallen in terms of the score tallies that they're putting up. You look at what they were putting up in the league, and you look at what they were putting up in the championship last year. Since the All-Ireland groups kicked off, they've nosedived in terms of what they're scoring. They only scored 10 points today. They only scored 2-7 against Westmeath. Like, they're not exactly shooting the lights out. So I'm not surprised it was a low-scoring enough game.
Yeah, like, even when Shane McGuigan was kicking a load of shots over the bar, 100% shot accuracy in the first half, you were thinking, is this game going to light up? But it just didn't. It really didn't. Like, even the top quality players on show, Conor Glass was turning the ball over a lot, but didn't do much with the ball. Sean O'Shea, and I said it to people I was watching the game with, has Sean O'Shea taken a shot yet in the midway through the second half? And I looked at the stats, and I thought I was hallucinating. But then I looked at the stats. He didn't actually take a shot until, I'd say, the 55th minute.
That's mental.
Like, it's
a player
just,
as good as he is at shooting doesn't get to shoot for 55 minutes.
It's just, and it's the most damning thing. Fair play to Kerry. They can only beat what's in front of them. They got over the line in the end. But from a Derry point of view, Séamus, like, and I said at the start of the chat, and I'll say it again, if you took away the scoreboard in the last 5 minutes, who would you say were winning the game?
Yeah, I agree with you. But that's it. There's no real level of urgency. And I don't know. Look, you can't say that they don't give a shit. Like, you can't say that they don't care, because they went there against Mayo last week and they got over the line in Mícheál Park in Castlebar, and that would have been a very easy game to just lie down and give up in. So you can't say that they don't care anymore. But I don't see, like, the same willing to die kind of energy that they had in the league, where, like, they were throwing themselves in front of shots. And, like, I don't know, it's just like, I don't know, like, you'd have to look at it and think, like, were they willing to go as far as it was going to take? Because they were last year, Last year, they literally were just unlucky. Like, I think last year, you play that game again, McKinless' shot goes in past Shane Ryan, Derry win that game. So, like, it was very much a flip of a coin as to who would have got through. This time, though, it was Kerry's game. And, like, Gaelic guy says here, to be fair, it is Mayo at the end of the day. Talking about the group stage, Mayo, of course, had their own issues with closing out games. That certainly came to the fore in that one as well. But a lot of people, Aaron himself said it in his reaction to the game, Kerry weren't at their best either. And like, let's just talk about, where do Kerry go now? Where do Derry go from here next? Because the game itself, not really much to talk about. Not really an entertaining game. Kerry shaded it. Tony Brosnan was great. He was impressive. David Clifford sparkled in patches, but then Chrissy McCaig did a job on him. Definitely utilising some dark arts and doing that job, but definitely stuck to his task. But Kerry now in this position, as you said, they haven't really been tested. But yet they find themselves in an All-Ireland semi-final. And again, no goals scored.
Yeah, exactly. They've only scored 4 goals in the championship. I think it is 2 against Meath and 2 against Louth. They've only scored a goal or 2 or multiple goals in 2 games in the championship this season. And they're in the All-Ireland semi-final. And they're one of the favourites doing it.
You look at Donegal, the score tally that they put up today against Louth, who are very defensively sound. You look at Armagh, what they're capable of putting up. They put 3-17 up against Derry. Kerry needs a sparkle up front. It needs to be now. Because the reality is when you tiptoe in without really getting tested, once the big test comes, it can catch you off guard.
Yeah. Yeah, they can't keep relying on David Clifford and Sean O'Shea to grab them out of jail, I suppose. Like, only 3 of their players coming into today's game, coming into the quarterfinal weekend, scored more than 10 points in the championship. Tom O'Sullivan, Sean O'Shea and David Clifford. Only 3 players today scored 2 points or more. David Clifford, Sean O'Shea and Tony Brosnan. And even when you look at from play, only 1 player on the Kerry team scored 2 points from play or more. Tony Brosnan.
Yeah, that's not All-Ireland Champions level stuff. But the reality is, this is what I'm saying. Like, we were saying this earlier. I don't think Jack O'Connor gives a damn about how they've got through. This was a dangerous game. Like, make no mistake, for Kerry, this was a dangerous game because there was always the possibility that Derry could just click.
Yeah.
And if Derry had clicked, it would have been a game that Kerry could have been knocked out in. When you've seen the form that Derry were in the league, when you see how close Derry pushed them in last year's All-Ireland semi-final, it wasn't deluded to say that, look, if Derry got it right, they might have been able to push Kerry all the way and potentially beat them. So for Kerry to get through this game with minimal fuss, no real injury problems, Jack O'Connor will be delighted. This is a, go past go, pick up your 100 into the semi-final with you. Like, I mean, who really cares how you get to the All-Ireland semi-final? Like, the records will say in 10 years, Kerry beat Derry. They're into the All-Ireland semi-final. If they go win the All-Ireland, I don't think anybody's going to be losing sleep over how they got past Derry in the quarter-final.
Exactly so. And they won't care. Excuse me. They won't care what style of a game it was, because they won't look back over the history books, as you said. They won the game. Simple as. They'll go over the next game. And to be honest, like, I just want to see, Séamus, a semi-final where somebody actually runs at this Kerry defence. Like, to be honest with you, out of all the championship games that Kerry have had, I can count vigorously now. Only, like, I can look at the overall championship. Only 2 teams ran at Kerry's defence throughout. Well, one did throughout the whole game. One did for one half. Cork did for one half. Clare did for the whole game.
Luke Walsh got the goal early, and then Ike Maguire got the goal for Clare.
Yeah,
going straight at them. Like, you look at Dublin in the league as well. Con, a hat-trick going straight down the middle of Kerry's defence. Like, they're not bulletproof back there. They're not. No. And I think Armagh could cause them serious problems. I really do.
And the thing is, like, they only kept a clean sheet in 2 championship games as well, against Meath and Derry. And to be honest, when you look at it, Derry didn't actually punt the ball into the square looking for a goal in the last few minutes until the 73rd minute today, when Dermot O'Connor catched that long range that long range punt into the square, and Meath were not threatening in front of goal whatsoever that day in the group. So, like, you just wonder, every time Kerry have been seriously tested when a team goes straight through and goal, they could cede at least one goal a game. So, to be honest, I would be worried for Jack O'Connor in that kind of standpoint, because Armagh scored 2 goals yesterday. Like, there's every chance, like, if Armagh, and the one thing I do want, Séamus, is for Armagh to run at this Kerry defence, just to make the game a bit more interesting. Because, like, you look at Derry.
I think they will. I think Armagh will go there and give them a right rattle. Like, I really, really think, like, as Gaelic guy says, Armagh is the test now for Kerry to get ready for. Like, Armagh are going to give them a right good rattle. I really think that. Like, Conor Turbot, the form he's in, they would be absolutely out of their minds to not feed him the ball as much as they can. And given the fact that they haven't really been tested to the max, they have to give it a shot, because it would be absolutely mental to go and do what Monaghan did, and go do what Derry did and try sit off them and try hold them. Like, that's not going to work. Then going back from Kerry, so to wrap up Kerry's situation, they're in an All-Ireland semi-final and they haven't really been tested. But if they can get through the next 2 games and win the All-Ireland, Jack O'Connor won't give one damn about how they have ended up in this situation. I remember a quote from Joe Brolly in 2010 around that Chasing Sam documentary, where he said there is no such thing as an easy All-Ireland. Dublin won an easy All-Ireland in 2020. If Kerry go untested in the next 2 games, it was an easy All-Ireland. It's been an easy run for them up till this point, and I don't think they're at their best. But I think that they will improve against Armagh, and I think that will be an absolute cracker in the All-Ireland semi-finals. For Derry, on the other hand, before we move off this topic, you know, it was a year that started with such craziness in terms of, like, just absolute madness when you're talking about Mickey Hart jumping from Louth to Derry. All of the Twitter reaction, like, from all high-profile people in the GA being like, what on earth is going on? Derry are right at the centre of it. The Glen boys win the All-Ireland Club Championship in a dramatic finish with Conor Glass strutting his stuff right back in for the league. They win the league. Everybody's talking about them as being, you know, an All-Ireland contender, a direct All-Ireland contender, especially when they beat Dublin in the league final on penalties in what was one of the best games of Gaelic football I've ever seen. Then the dip. Donegal just figure them out in the Ulster Championship. Then they lose to Galway and Armagh in devastating fashion, battered by both of them. Crawl past Westmeath, show a bit of defiance against Mayo in a very low-scoring game, manage to scrape through, and then go out with a whimper to Kerry in the All-Ireland quarter-final. All in all, it's been honestly a baffling year for Derry. I think that's a good word to describe it. Is that the end of the Mickey Hart project? Because let's be honest, he wasn't brought in for a 5-year project. He was brought in to cash in on the talent that they have and to win the All-Ireland. I think he's gone. I don't think he's going to be back next year.
Oh, I think he is as well. And what was even more surprising, and you know, you mentioned it with Mickey Hart, this is a cash in to go on and win the All-Ireland. Again, there was no sense of urgency for Derry to go on and win the game today. It was almost like they were just happy to lose by 5 points to Kerry and say, yeah, this is fine. We're not going to punt the ball into the square. We're not going to go at Kerry's defence whatsoever. We're just going to keep the ball. We're just going to kick it around. We're going to hand pass it around. And it's just like, it was just so frustrating to watch. I'd imagine for the neutral, and I'd imagine for Derry fans, it must have been like tearing their hair out looking at this. Because you're 4 or 5 points down against Kerry in an All-Ireland quarter-final. Go for it. What have you got to lose? Yeah. Like, it's just, you know, it was just questionable, I thought, in the second half in particular from Derry point of view. And to answer your question on Mickey Hart, I think he's gone as well. He is gone. I can't see any way that he does come back from this. Look, it was a good win over Mayo the last day, but let's call a spade a spade. Westmeath were a Division 3 team this year. Mayo, they beat them on penalties, and it is Mayo, let's be honest. And then the quarter-final, they didn't put up the Kerry whatsoever. Yeah. So it's just like, it's almost of a failure of a championship for Mickey Hart. And it's just a shame, because Derry promised so much in the league after that win over Dublin. And actually, Dublin and Derry produced a brilliant league final in Division 1 back in April. And we were thinking, why scrap the league finals? Both of them now are out of the championship once it comes to the semi-finals.
Nuts. Yeah. Absolutely mental. We have a comment in here from Bandit. He says, thank God the daggers put through the Dura Straits heart. P.S. Is there any consistent team this year? No is the answer. But there definitely isn't consistent teams in Gaelic football this year. Every week, a team that looked great last week looks terrible this week, looks very beatable this week, then all of a sudden next week looks fantastic again. Now, Armagh are into the All-Ireland semi-finals for the first time since 2005 after they beat Roscommon by 12 points. This game was a lot more straightforward than the Dublin game, which followed it. Armagh with a better side in this one. Barry McCambridge and Conor Turbett with 1 goal and 2 points each. Oisin Conity with 4 points. To be fair to Armagh, it was a type of game where it could definitely get a bit nervy if they didn't deal with the Roscommon challenge, and they did deal with the Roscommon challenge. Handled it ruthlessly into the All-Ireland semi-final now.
Yeah, I suppose it was a game of a few things, but it wasn't really the football excellence or whatever. The weather was really, really bad for both sides, and that has to come into fruition as well, because it was a terrible day for an All-Ireland quarter-final. The rain pelting down in Croke Park. So you have to cut the team slack for that. Roscommon only scored 1 point in half an hour. Isn't really good enough either. The sending off of Rory Fallon, to be honest, it could have killed the game, but to be fair to Roscommon, they definitely put it up to Armagh in the first 2 stages of the second half. But even look at the stats, like, it's actually shocking to look at this. Roscommon had 29 shots, Armagh had 24. Roscommon's shooting accuracy was 41%. Like, it wasn't good enough. It simply wasn't to win a game of football like that. 8 points from play, scoring accuracy from play 33%. Like, it just didn't trouble the Armagh goal. And then obviously the 2 injuries at the start of the game for David Murray and Ultan Harney did not help Roscommon's cause whatsoever. And then the kick out, you have to feel sorry for Conor Carroll, because he has been brilliant over the last few years for Roscommon. But to kick it right in front of the Armagh player, they Conor Turbett, to run straight through a goal, he wouldn't have had an easier championship goal in his life. It was just a really, really poor goal for Roscommon to concede, that it was just game over then. But I think it wasn't about the performance from an Armagh point of view. I think it was just about getting over the line in the All-Ireland quarter-final, which they haven't done over the last few seasons. They've been ridiculed for getting defeated on penalties and things like that, the jokes that go around and things like that. But for them to get over the line in the All-Ireland quarter-final, I don't know, it might snap something into them to get something done in the All-Ireland semi-final. They'll go into the Kerry game now under no pressure. They're under no pressure to win an Ulster title or to get further into the championship. Kieran McGeady will be thinking, lads, we're under no pressure here. And this is when actually Armagh perform better when nobody's giving them a hope.
Yeah.
So to be honest, even looking at that Armagh Kerry game, it should be a game for Armagh to excel. And I'm very excited to see what they can do in the last 4. As for Roscommon, good result last weekend against Tyrone, but ultimately it was just a shooting that let them down, unfortunately. And just to finish off as well, Davy Burke with his son at the end, speaking to Ashton O'Reilly a day ago, it was just a great, wasn't it, Séamus? And you could just see Davy Burke at the post-match interview was literally heartbroken. But I'm sure they'll go again next year, and they will be one of the favourites to go back up to Division 1 from Division 2, given their performance against Tyrone last week.
Yeah, absolutely. No, they're definitely, even just their pedigree in Division 2, they've consistently shown that they figure out a formula of how to win Division 2 and go straight back up to Division 1. But their championship ends at the quarterfinal stage. Armagh into the semi-finals, where they will be joined by Kerry, Galway and Donegal. Donegal back in the All-Ireland semi-finals once again after beating Louth by 1 goal and 23 points to 18 points in Croke Park. This was the first game that was on today on the Sunday. For Donegal, look, again, it's, they got the win. They won by 8 points. I don't think Jim McGuinness will be 100% thrilled with the performance, because Louth did cause Donegal lots of problems. For me, though, it was obvious, just the goal absolutely killed Louth. Louth had just scored. I think it was Liam Jackson who had just scored. And that made it a 3-point game. And there was still about 16, 17 minutes left to go. And then Donegal get the goal from Owen Bon Gallagher immediately after. And, there'd been gaps starting to appear in Louth's defence. But once the goal went in, it was like, right, that's it. Curtains now. And then Ryan McHugh, Jamie Brennan kind of started popping up with points that just kept the scoreboard ticking over. And it was like, once that goal went in, Louth just ran out of gas. It's been an extraordinary season for the Wee County, though, but Donegal march on.
Yeah, to be honest, like out of the teams in the semi-final, and some comment there was talking about consistency. I think the closest team that have performed brilliantly on a consistent basis this year is Donegal. And actually, when you look at the stats of the Cork game, they had a high shot percentage accuracy. That game, 69%. It was just the 3 goals that absolutely killed them in Páirc Uí Rinn. But they have learned from those experiences. You even seen today from Jim McGuinness's tactics, they aren't committing as many men to the attack. It definitely suited them, in fairness. Look at today's stats, like even over 75% shot accuracy. It didn't hinder them whatsoever in terms of that. And they looked defensively solid. I don't think Louth had much of a goal chance today, which is a positive for Donegal, I have to say. But conceding 18 points is not really where Jim McGuinness wants to go, and I suppose there is something to do in the training ground there. But in terms of excitement and in terms of consistency, I think Donegal have been the best out of the 4 teams so far. And I do think if any team deserved to win the All-Ireland, it's them. But we'll have to see over the next few weeks. Peadar Morgan was excellent today from wing back, like defensively and offensively. Like he was just a pocket rocket, wasn't he? At wing back, unreal. Like even see Oisin Gallen, Paddy McBrearty, he only scored 1 point, and they're not as reliant on him to score 223 to only have 3 wides in the game. 75%, as I mentioned, like that normally is a good day in the office for Donegal, but conceding the 18 points obviously will be a hindrance on the performance. But credit has to go to Louth. They could easily have gone up just to be happy to be there in All-Ireland quarter-final weekend, like Kildare have in 2015, like Clare did over the past 2 seasons. But they showed up and they went for it against Donegal. To be fair to them, Tommy Jordan did brilliant in midfield today. Samuel Roy, excellent. Ryan Birds, I know he dragged a few wide, but was definitely a colossal figure. Conor Grimes as well. Craig Lennon didn't have the same spark as he did in the last few games, but definitely had a good performance in him as well. Anthony Williams, the centre back, had a very good performance as well. They were a bit shook at that at first few minutes. Colin McKeever, I just felt sorry for him. Obviously getting that head collision with Samuel Roy to go off early on his 101st appearance. It was just unfortunate from his point of view. But Louth should be very proud of their efforts this year. And as the saying goes, Louth and proud, to be fair to them, to go into an All-Ireland quarter-final this year. Fair play to them for that. But for Donegal, Séamus, I genuinely believe this. Out of the 4 teams left, I think they've been the best performing side so far.
Yeah, no, I think apart from the Cork game, they definitely have been the most consistently in terms of like their results, the success that they've delivered, everything like that. For Louth, it's been an extraordinary year. To make the All-Ireland quarterfinals for the first time in their history is absolutely extraordinary. Ger Brennan, in his first ever year as an inter-county manager, deserves massive credit for that as well, and so too do the players.
Just a question actually, Séamus. Ger Brennan, do you think he'd be the next manager for Dublin given his Daisy's time up?
Probably would say no. Dublin tend to go from within. I could see it being someone like a Declan Darcy or a Jason Sherlock or a Darren Daly or someone that is very kind of already involved, like a Brian Cullen or something. I could see someone like that taking it rather than bringing someone who wasn't in the setup into the setup, if that makes sense. Plus, I don't think Dublin like a media circus, and if you were to whip Ger Brennan off Louth, kick up a storm, I don't think that they would do that. So Bandit here is talking about and we have it here. So he says, I'll be interested to know what you think about this match. He says, today a Kerry player was on the ground and pulled a Derry player to the ground, stopped the advantage, and he didn't get a black card. The rule is a joke. It has to go. And the mark ruining our game, the attacking advanced mark. There are a lot of people who absolutely despise the attacking mark. Like there's a lot of people that despise the attacking mark. So like, I mean, talking about it, like there was the scuffle between Derry and Kerry, like at half time as well. Like there was handbags. Don't like to see it, but it happened in the game anyway. Just disappointing when you see it like that. But what do you make of it?
In terms of the advanced mark, my opinions on this, and Dublin were doing it a bit last night. Conor Callahan did one last night. Or even I was saying to a person next to me that I hate this. I hate this rule where you could just basically kick from 46 meters and catch it into the breadbasket, into the chest, and mark. It's not a skill, Séamus. How on earth could you claim a ball that you barely won with ease, basically?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense. They have to either adjust that ruling or ban it altogether. I just hate that advanced mark. I really do. And in terms of the black card from Kerry's standpoint and the fouling and the scuffles and all that.
What?
Look. Like Jose Mourinho would say, if I say something, I'm in big trouble.
If I speak.
Yeah. Look, to be honest, since last year, I know I said it after the Derry game in the semi-final last year, and I got a bit of flack for it. Kerry do a bit of dark arts.
Oh, they do.
They do a bit of it. But that's all I'll probably say on the issue, because, like, I said it after the Derry game last year, and I got a bit of flack for it, saying I was salty and stuff like that. But the core fact is, Kerry do like any other county. They provide a bit of dark arts. Yeah,
exactly. That's how you say it. Yeah, like any other county, Kerry have their pit bulls in the team who do the dark arts. They do. Dublin have had them. Dublin have them right now. Derry have them. Cork have them. Every single county has an element of dark arts in getting over the line. And if you say otherwise, you're in denial or you're biased. Simply put. Now, we'll talk about what is one of the highlights of the weekend as well. I was keeping up with this game on RT Radio 1, the sport. Just this game seemed nuts. And then to watch the highlights, absolutely confirmed that Tipperary 217, Kilkenny 312, the All-Ireland Minor hurling final in Nolan Park. For Tipperary to win this game with 13 men on the pitch, and they just never, ever, ever threw in the towel. They always had an answer. Those boys have achieved something absolutely extraordinary with this All-Ireland win.
It was absolutely incredible. And obviously the All-Ireland quarterfinals were on, and then the Euros were on, so it was kind of hard to keep up with it. But when Tipperary had the 2 men sent off, and Tipperary, the admin, did you see on Twitter, the admin from Tipperary was saying, seriously? And it was like, gee, when the admin is doing that, and when James Woodlock is going after the officials afterwards, it's bad. Bad. But to send off one minor player is a bit over the top, in my opinion, at that grade as well. Let's not forget, Seamus, it's under 17 as well.
Yeah, these lads are young fellas. Like,
to send 2 fellas off, I mean, it's I don't know. It nearly did ruin their minor experience doing that.
That's it as well. Like, I remember people were talking about getting rid of the penalty shootouts and the last minute frees and everything like that, like the free taking competition, because it would be so detrimental to a player's confidence if they were the ones to miss. And I was like, that is a very, very good idea. Bringing in something like a golden point would be the better way to go about that. But in this game, if you want to talk about mindset and mentality, the resilience that Tipperary showed was extraordinary.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose the goals that they got as well in extra time was absolutely brilliant in its own right. The goal doing has been brilliant throughout the campaign. Scored 1-4 in this game. And to lose, actually, Killian Minogue, I think, was their top scorer from play with 3 goals and 15 points or something like that coming into the final. He was one of the minors to get sent off. So to lose him is a massive blow to Tipperary. And to win the All-Ireland Minor final with 13 men on the pitch after extra time away from home against Kilkenny, what a win. And to be honest, they've boosted Tipperary hurling as well from a standpoint. And to be fair, the under-20s did that as well, reaching the final against Offaly, a very good Offaly side, may I add as well. And Tipperary have proved that hurling isn't dead in the county. You have the minors coming up through the ranks. You have the under-20s as well. And you had the minors win the All-Ireland over Offaly a few seasons back as well. So the underage is definitely doing well in Tipperary. And James Woodlock, the manager, obviously a legendary player for Tipperary, an All-Ireland winner in 2010, deserves a lot of credit for binding these players together. Brendan Cummins in the under-20s as well. So they're getting the guys that were legends of the past into these backroom teams, and they're definitely excelling. They've won the All-Ireland. They know what it takes. And to get these fellas up the ranks, it's brilliant from their point of view as well. Ewan Murray had another good performance as well. Jake Donlan Houlihan, if I pronounce that correctly, scored 4 points as well. Excellent performance from him as well. Stephen Tobin, Austin Duff came off the bench and got a point as well. So very good performance from Tipperary. Deserved the win as well. As for Kilkenny, they've had a brilliant campaign themselves. obviously did well in the Leinster Championship after losing 2 group games, but to bounce back to get to the final, they deserve a lot of credit for that. One to watch in the next few years, actually, Jake Mullen. I'm not sure. He's from Ballyhead Shamrocks. I don't know, is he related to Adrian? Is he his brother, younger brother?
Same
to be
club.
honest.
Same surname.
Probably is, to be honest. He is definitely one to watch in the next few seasons. Bill McDermott as well, and Ollie O'Donovan. So very good players coming up for Kilkenny, but it was Tipperary's day, and congratulations to James Woodlock and all the team.
Certainly, and they're absolutely extraordinary, and they just kept fighting back no matter what. They always had an answer to Kilkenny and ultimately got over the line. Extraordinary achievement that will stand the test of time. Moving then to Camogie before we wrap up. So what we're going to do with the groups is we're going to zone in on the 2 teams that have qualified for the All-Ireland semi-finals, and then talk about the other 2 games in the group and then the quarterfinals that are coming up. So Tipperary booked their place in the last 4, beating Kilkenny 115 to 15 points at the Rag. It was Karen Kennedy's goal that ultimately proved the separator between the 2 teams. And this is a huge result for Tipperary because it's one of the teams that have dominated the last 10 years of Camogie in Kilkenny, and Tipperary are beating them and getting into the All-Ireland semi-final. Tip are legit.
They are, and that is the 2nd year in a row now they've reached the All-Ireland semi-final, which is a massive achievement. And to win the league title at the start of the year under Dennis Kelly, they deserve a lot of credit. And even they were missing Caught Van for the start of the campaign as well. I know she's come back in, but even to find new players, Karen Kennedy's been exceptional in a more forward role for Tipperary, as we've seen in the league final. Clodagh McIntyre has been brilliant in this campaign as well. And you have a few other players from Tipperary, and you have new stars in the team. And to beat a Kilkenny side like that deserves a lot of credit from the Tipperary point of view. And to win, I think it was 5 games, they won out of 5, which is an incredible achievement from their point of view as well. To win 5 games against Kilkenny, against Waterford, deserve a lot of credit. They really do. Tipperary beat Derry as well. They deserve a lot of credit for getting to the semi-final, and they make it to the semi-final. They will be waiting in the wings, but again, they reached the semi-final last year. They dropped the ball against Waterford. They'll be hoping they won't make the same mistake this year. And I don't think they will at this early stage. I think they look a very good side at the moment and definitely want to watch in the next few weeks.
Certainly, there's no question about it. Tipperary are a dangerous side. Nobody's going to want to play against them because the one thing that Tipperary have is confidence right now. They're confident in their abilities and they have momentum, and that's always a dangerous team to be going up against. Waterford are similar. Waterford have very, very similar momentum right now, obviously riding off the All-Ireland final appearance last season, and then the form of Beth Carton in particular. She's still shooting the lights out. She hit 2 goals and 8 points in this game as Waterford trounced on Derry 3-15 to 6 points in Walsh Park. Meanwhile, Limerick bounced back to beat Antrim 2-17 to 3-12 in Rathkeale. The 2 Cuivas were the key players in this game for Limerick. Cuiva Lyons hit 2-2 and Cuiva Costello hit 9 points. Roisin McCormack deserves a huge shout for Antrim. She hit 2 goals and 10 points by herself, yet still ended up on the losing team. How confusing must that be for her? But Limerick bouncing back and getting the win, and Waterford carry on their winning ways.
Yeah, Waterford with a big win over Derry, of course. Like Derry, there was always the chance that they'd get over the line, obviously, because the 3rd place was up for grabs in this group. But Beck Carton scored 2-8, obviously, and Abby Flynn, who's been a new star, really, from a Waterford point of view. I know she was there over the last few seasons, but compared to the likes of Niamh Rocket, Lorraine Bray, Beck Carton, she hasn't been a star over the last few years. And Waterford have found these stars as well, like Mairead O'Brien, for example, Annie Fitzgerald, Kate Lynch. Like, they do have some brilliant players all over the park, Waterford, and that would be a positive going into the Galway game next week in the All-Ireland quarter-final. And Derry, look, I know they lost the game, but they can hold their heads up high this season. They've had a brilliant season, winning the Intermediate All-Ireland, obviously losing the Westmeath in the league final, but to finish 4th in this group comfortably as well, and to nearly nick a place in the quarter-final, they deserve a lot of credit, and a lot of new stars in that Derry team, obviously. As for Limerick and Antrim, a bit of a confusing one, obviously, considering obviously Roisin McCormack was high-scoring this one for Antrim and deserves a lot of praise. But from the relegation battle standpoint, we don't know yet, is there going to be a B team that wins it or an A team that wins it? I think Joe Quaid, the Limerick manager, talked about that during the week, saying that the format needs a bit of rejigging over this. And to be honest with you, I'd actually agree with him. I think the B teams, no disrespect to them, but I think the B teams have to be in a separate competition. Have to be in a separate competition and have Offaly, Kerry, Meath in the Intermediate Championship. That's what I have. Yeah, make it simple, So a bit of clarity for the teams as well. But regardless, Limerick are definitely safe. Antrim could go down, but they need a B team to win the intermediate championship, and they'll be in a relegation playoff with Down. If an A team wins it, it's just so confusing, Séamus.
I'm not a fan
say,
I think it opens the door to absolute dominance. Like when you have Cork B and Galway B competing in the final a couple of years ago, that's ridiculous. They should be in their own competition, separate away from the other counties, because it's the same in club competitions. It'll be depressing when it'll be depressing for smaller clubs to get beaten by a club's C team or B team or something. You're like, God, imagine what the A team would do to you if they do you get what I mean? Yeah. So I feel I wouldn't be a fan of it now coming into the rest of the year, and hopefully with the integration by 2027, it's something that becomes a thing of the past. Moving on to Group 2's round 5, Cork are into the semi-finals. The All-Ireland champions have looked pretty much flawless in their campaign. 2-16 to 1-7 they beat Galway by in Páirc Uí Chaoimh, holding a Galway forward line which has some serious firepower to only 8 scores in the hour is really, really impressive by Gerry Manley's side. And they're carrying on the form from the All-Ireland win in very impressive fashion.
We talked about the sides. There are favourites that have easy runs and stuff like Kerry in the football, obviously, and they haven't got a test yet. Cork just got their test in the Camogie, and they came plastic with flying colours. What a win for them to come away with a 2-16 to 1-7 win over Galway, to hammer Dublin the way they did last week as well. Is very, very impressive from this Cork team. And what I noticed as well, a lot of players have lost players. For example, Galway have lost Sarah Dervin, Shauna Healy, all them. Kilkenny have lost a few players of their own, like Denise Gall. Cork have literally nearly got everybody on the same page. Aisling Thompson was there yesterday, Aoife Healy in midfield, Amy O'Connor scoring 1-5, Katrina Mackey was there, Fiona Keating, Saoirse McCarthy, who's very versatile, was there, Laura Tracy, Hannah Looney, Laura Hayes. They're all still on the panel. Pamela Mackey, they're all still there. And that is the most pleasing thing from Gerry Manley, and he was obviously in the backer team with Matthew Hurley last year, so he would have been the most ideal candidate to come up through the ranks and get the top job. So Cork have done really well in this group, and they kept all the players together as well, and they look like clear favourites for the All-Ireland, in my opinion. It's not just because I'm biased and things like that. I just genuinely believe this team looks really, really good at the moment, and to beat Galway by that margin is an absolutely incredible standard as well, I suppose. Even in the full forward line for Galway, according to Scorpio, Niamh Mallon, Orla McGrath and Ailish O'Reilly scored 2 points between them.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, it's really, really good from a Cork standpoint. Carrie Dolan scoring 1-3 as well, and Ciara Hickey scoring 1 point as well. That was a decent Galway team out. The likes of Ali Hazen, Sabina Rabbit, some good young players in that Galway team. It wasn't as if the losses of Shauna Healy, Sarah Dervin were genuinely dragging the team down altogether. There were still some very good players on the Galway pitch that day. So, for Cork to come out with a comprehensive win will definitely do good for their confidence. As for Galway next week against Waterford, will their confidence start to degrade going to next Sunday's clash against Waterford? We'll have to see. We'll have to see in general. So yeah, it's a good win for Cork, but for Galway, back to the drawing board.
Certainly, and they've been shown how far the ceiling is up above them. They've lost the league final to Tipperary and now beaten out the gate by Cork and Páirc Uí Chaoimh. They don't look to me like the All-Ireland contenders that they once were. And I think when you look at this now, I would say right in this moment, it's between. I think Cork are definitely the front runners. I actually think Tip are the most likely to catch them. And then I think, also have the dark horses of your Waterfords, your Kilkennys and your Galways. But when you've seen how Cork just handled Galway, and in the All-Ireland final last year, I don't think it plays out much different if Waterford get back there this year. It's hard to see anybody but Cork winning. The last 2 games in the group then, Dublin annihilated Down 4-19 to 6 points in Leitrim. Down having an awful time of it. And then Clare beating Wexford 1-15 to 1-11 in a game that honestly surprised me. I expected Wexford to win this one. Clare picking up a very impressive win.
Yeah, that was a game that surprised me as well. I suppose Wexford have had a wretched time in the championship, let's be honest. Ciara O'Connor got injured early at the group stage, and maybe that was a loss for them. But to get 4 points on the board, only 1 win against Down, and then to get a draw against Galway, which was an impressive result, let's be honest. But like to lose against Clare, against Dublin, and against Cork, it doesn't really read well from Wexford point of view. Would they have to go back to the drawing board this season? And Colin Sunderland has a lot of work to do if Wexford are to be competitive next season. It was a good win for Clare. They were battered over the last few weeks against the likes of Galway, against the likes of Cork. But to get a win maybe will spur them a bit of confidence going into the next season and end their championship on a high. As for Dublin down, Dublin now sealed their place in the quarterfinal next week against Kilkenny, which will be a tough game. It will definitely be more. It won't be straightforward as that. Let's be honest, Down are really, really poor at this stage. Like again, if an A team wins the Intermediate Championship, it will be a relegation playoff between Down and Antrim. And to be honest, I would expect Antrim to batter Down in that one if the form book keeps going the way it is. Like Down have lost a lot of players, like Paul O'Hagan over the last few years. I think retired, and Niamh Mallon went down to Galway. Saoirse McCartan went down to Cork. Like that's serious talent coming out of the team, and you almost have to feel sorry for Down in that way. But that was a broad battering against Dublin yesterday. But Dublin will have a tougher test next weekend, no doubt about it.
Certainly will. But I'm looking forward to it. We've been making big strides in Camogie, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we get on in our quarterfinal against Kilkenny. So that is the weekend review show wrapped up. We have covered the football quarterfinals and the latest Camogie action and the All-Ireland minor hurling final as well. Well, thanks to Matthew for jumping on for another episode. Check his channel out, Gaelic.1, if you haven't already. And yeah, thank you to anybody who commented, got involved in the discussion. It really, really helps to improve the episode. I enjoyed it. Thank you very much to Matthew again. Until the next episode, guys, here on Cluiche, take care.